Hey everybody, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Karla. So this 2020, something that I've been really focusing on has been reading more. In today's video, I'm just gonna give you a couple tips on how you can improve and read more for this coming 2021. All right, so the first thing to do is incorporate it into your day. Just how we walk around with our smartphones all the time and we're always on our computers, find a way to incorporate a book in there. So that can mean, a magazine, it could be a book, it could be an ebook, it can be an audiobook. But instead of going straight to Instagram or straight to Twitter, go straight to your book instead, or to your reading material, if you will. So this will just make it more casual and make it more of a habit that you're more likely to stick to instead of going straight to social media, which honestly, for the most part, can be pretty much a waste of time. The second tip is to read what interests you. I think there's a big push to read the classics because when you're thinking, oh, I need to read more, you're like, what should I read? And then you're like, oh, okay, the classics have been, passed generation through generation and they're still relevant today. Why don't I start with that? I think the problem with that is that it can be really difficult to get through some of the classics, especially if it's not something that you're particularly interested in and you're just reading it because you're like, this is classical literature. This is what I should be reading. You shouldn't be reading anything specific. You should just be doing what you like to do if this is a hobby, if you're trying to gain more knowledge overall. What's the matter in reading what actually interests you? I actually quite like reading triathlon magazines and tennis magazines, and I always feel like I learn something new and I have a great time. And you don't have to finish everything you start anyway, so why not just peruse it, see if it tickles your fancy. And that kind of segues into this third tip that you don't have to finish everything you start. I feel like just knowing this takes off the pressure and lets you just look at books and see if it's something that interests you. Nobody's holding you to it. I heard this idea that we should think about books as blog post articles, and I don't really agree with it because what they were saying is that if you don't like a book, if you can't see yourself getting into it, skip on to the next. But I found that kind of hard for myself because I would always go 2, 3, 4, not even 10 pages in and just not be resonating with the story or just not being able to follow sometimes. I found that over time, if I gave it a bit more of a chance, I read maybe 50 pages or just tried to think of a book on a continuum and tried to see if I could follow the story, I was more likely to finish the book because I was interested in what was happening. But if I would think about it just like a blog post article, a lot of the times I would just put the book down and try something else and the same thing would happen because I didn't give it much of a chance. So I think it's important to think of that, but in the end you really don't have to finish any of the books you start, and if you can't see yourself resonating with the story or following what's going on, there's no point to wasting your time. You might as well just put it down and try something else. This next tip is kind of similar to the first. It's that you should dedicate time to reading, but this is slightly different from incorporating into your day. So incorporating it into your day means finding times you realize you're not using productively and trying to see if you can reduce the friction and read more. Do you know what I'm saying? You pick up a book instead of picking up Twitter. But dedicating time to it is when you set aside 10 minutes a day to read perhaps a book that you've been working on. It all counts. Knowledge is cumulative and you're still building up. So another way that you can do that is just dedicate time to it. Perhaps before you go to sleep, pick up a book instead of scrolling through your phone. And overall, if you read for 10 minutes every day, for a week that's 70 minutes or an hour and 10 minutes, right? In a year, that's about 60 hours of reading that you wouldn't have had if you didn't dedicate 10 minutes a day to. There's a quote that I often think about, and it's the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. And I really love this quote because I always feel really down when I realize that I haven't started something that I've been wanting to build for the past, X amount of years or months or weeks or whatever. And then I realize, if I don't start now, I'm never gonna start. I'm just gonna keep pushing it away and my tree isn't gonna grow. And the last tip I have for you guys today is to expand gradually. When you're a baby, you learn to crawl before you walk and then you run. Might as well think about that here in this situation as well. If you're not used to reading every day for an hour a day or 2 hours a day straight, so it's probably not going to work out so well if you just try to sit down every day for 2 hours and try to knock out some reading that you haven't been doing in the past years. So start off small. We all have to work on our attention, especially in this coronavirus times where we're probably using our phones way too much, so try to expand gradually. Gotta crawl before you walk. So maybe try to read a little, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, building up until you can keep your attention for the amount of time that you want to be able to sit down and read continuously. And don't discount audiobooks. Audiobooks count too. They also have the knowledge. And since we've already said knowledge is cumulative, don't discount audiobooks because they also contain the knowledge. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. That was about all the tips I have for you today. I hope that you're able to read more using these tips. If even one tip helps you, please leave a comment. And don't forget to like and also subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me. And we finally hit 100 subscribers. So this is really amazing. Thanks so much for all your support this year. You guys have made 2020 a little bit more bearable. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.
She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's lining up to see her.